this guy in here is a very, very territorial male who takes his job defending the water's edge very seriously. Back in the 40s, he took that to the extent of grabbing his keeper by the hand when he went in to feed him and dragged him into the water and drowned him. Now that was a territorial attack. He wasn't interested in food at all. But whatever his reasons, the zoo didn't want him there anymore, and Shah was sent back out into the wild, and he was used out there for biotelemetry research with the University of Sydney. Now, biotelemetry means the messages of life. It's tracking crocodile movements out there in the wild. They had a radio transmitter and a solar panel to charge the batteries, all bolted together on the back of his neck. The idea of it all was pretty clever, pretty simple, but it didn't work with this one. He didn't like the feel of all that gear on his neck. The first thing he'd do when they released him was bash it all off on a tree. They'd have to go out and repeat the process, but he just kept knocking it off. Now they did persist until they'd used up about $180,000 worth of radio gear. Now they just let students go out in the wild and follow them around instead. Now, he's a pretty cranky old fella, but he's not interested in me just yet. Right now I'm still too far away from him to be much of a threat. I'm also not close enough for him to grab just in one lunge. I'll watch his attitude change when I do go towards the water's edge. Hello. Come on. Now this one in here was caught up in North Queensland once again, living on a sugar mill near Ingham. Now, he was living in a water hole on the mill that was very popular for the workers to swim in the afternoons. Now they, naturally enough, didn't know he was there. The owner of the place did, and had tried to warn people to stay away from that water hole. They didn't believe him and just didn't listen. But this is what they were swimming with. The owner eventually became terrified that somebody would be taken in that place, and he called us to come and remove the problem. Now it took 3 months to get this guy into a trap, a very cunning critter. But when we finally took him down to the local railway station, a lot of people turned up to see what was in the box. We could very easily pick the people out of that crowd that had been in there with this fella. Come on, up you come! Come on, up! You sound very grumpy. Come on, up. Pick up. You sit right there. Yeah, he's a pretty big fella. He's not really all that aggressive. That's it, down there. Now when you look into his mouth, you'll notice you can't see right down his throat. That's because the tongue in here folds up at the back and closes it off. That's called a palatal valve, and it's there so crocodiles can go underwater without water rushing down their throat and drowning them. Now that tongue can also be used in thermoregulation, or adjusting the body temperature. Crocodiles out basking in the sun can open their mouths up wide like his is now. Being reptiles, can't sweat like we do. They use their tongue that way instead. Whether he's friendly or not, he does become a threat to human safety and really does have to go. Now these days, crocodiles have two choices. They can either be taken to captivity by a croc farm, or if for some reason that's not possible, they're shot by National Parks and Wildlife. Now we do much prefer to see them back down here rather than just going to waste. Pair. You do always have to keep an eye out for her. She's a bit smaller than him, but can be a lot faster as well. Now, you find very big differences in the sizes of male and female crocs. These males can grow up to lengths of about 8 metres and weigh nearly 3,000 kilos.